right, welcome back to the Dolphins Country podcast, and today we will be reacting to the 34-10 road win by the Miami Dolphins over the Atlanta Falcons. I was actually at that game in Atlanta, so apologies for the delayed podcast here. I just got back yesterday. I had a busy day and had a busy time down there in Atlanta, but I got to witness a win, which is really nice to see. So we'll be reacting to that. Tua's bounce back performance, which is really nice to see. Mike McDaniel's incredible game plan, a lot of creativity, probably his best game plan of the year for sure. Anthony Weaver's best outing yet as a defensive coordinator. Really just a very complete football game by the Miami Dolphins on both sides of the ball. Ollie Gordon's breakout. We'll get into all that. But before we dive in, be sure to like and subscribe at Dolphins Country Pod on both YouTube and Spotify. You can watch and listen whichever way you prefer. So let's get into it. Tua, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, 205 yards passing against a top 5 pass defense in the NFL in Atlanta. So why was Tua so good today compared to last week, or not today? Why was Tua so good this week in comparison to last week in Cleveland? You could obviously just boil it down to, well, last week in Cleveland, it was inclement weather. We know Tua has a knack and has a history of struggling in inclement weather, rainy weather, wind, wind in the 50-mile-an-hour, that's not great for Tua. So obviously he had his worst game, probably his worst game as a pro last week in Cleveland, and had a really, really nice showing in Atlanta. And it was even more impressive in person. Watching him hit these throws in the second level, in the intermediate level, middle of the field, and outside the numbers too. He made a couple outside the number throws that were really, really impressive. Again, Tua has always been good in a dome, so that's nice to see. But I think that ultimately a lot of this came down to, and I'll get into it, the run game and really the game plan by Mike McDaniel. I think this is more great Mike McDaniel than it was anything else. And I'm a Tua guy, and I'm saying that because I think he was really impressive. But I think the credit here is going to go to Mike McDaniel because that was a really, really effective game plan. And I thought he just kind of tore up Raheem Morris in terms of the Falcons defense. They were guessing the entire game pretty much, and Miami really kept them at bay. I think a lot of Tua got back to what he did in college, which was great timing, anticipation. Not even just in college, in this offense, it was all timing and anticipation. That 2022 and 2023 season here in Miami, we got away from it a little bit because we couldn't run the football. The O-line wasn't very good. Defense was trying to figure us out. Hey, reroute these guys, and the timing's a little bit off. Blah blah blah. But we got back to what we were as an offense in those 2 years that McDaniel was humming with the number 1 offense in football. And obviously Tua's got elite anticipation and accuracy. But I think a lot of that was thanks to the run game. I mean, when you can marry that stuff up, it really helps your offense and it helps your passing game. The run game was the difference in the game. Miami clearly came into this week with the game plan of, hey, we're going to run the football. We're going to establish some physicality. And then the Tua stuff will come off of that. We'll be able to. The linebackers for Atlanta have to creep up and respect the run game when it was working like this. I mean, obviously you want to run the ball like this every week, but Miami's not been able to do that so far this season. But the Dolphins came into this game with the game plan of, hey, heavy sets. I saw a lot of single back when I was at the game. I was like, wait, I've never seen the Dolphins run this much single back. It's usually a lot of Tua in the shotgun, pitching it to Devon Achane, who's next to him. On Sunday, it was a lot of, hey, Tua's going to be under center. He's going to have his back turned to the defense a lot. He's going to short yardage, hand it off to Ollie Gordon. He's going to hand it off to Devon Achane on 3rd and 10 in single. It was a lot of, hey, we're going to run the football and we don't care what down and distance it is. And I really respect that. So yeah, and again, I'll get to why it was so effective. But I think that, again, they ran it 37 times on Sunday. 37 times. And honestly, it could have been more than that because the screen game is extension of the run game too. So they ran it 37 times, but they also popped a lot of screens. You saw the screen to Devon Achane. You saw the screen to Ollie Gordon that went for a touchdown early in the fourth quarter. Those are basically extensions of the run game too. It's basically a run play. It's just you're getting your offensive lineman out there in space. And by the way, Aaron Brewer in space on Sunday was tremendous. I mean, absolutely flawless game by him. Getting him out there in space. I think him and Patrick Paul, Savaya Naya had a couple really nice blocks that sparked some big plays. That was probably his best game as a pro, as a rookie. So yeah, I think Mike McDaniel, he clearly wanted to go heavy personnel this game. He brought in, this is the first time they've done it all year, a 6th offensive lineman package with Daniel Brunskill. They had, I believe, 15 plays ran. I don't know if that's exactly correct, but I believe it was 15 plays of a 6th offensive lineman package in there with Daniel Brunskill. A lot of it was in short yardage, which means you probably know it's a run, but it was still effective. I mean, the Dolphins were as good as I've ever seen them in short yardage. I believe they were like 10 of 14 on 3rd down and like less than 3 or 4, whatever it was. So they were really effective on short yardage, which they had not been last year. Remember, that was the whole thing with the Dolphins offense last year. When the field condenses, or when if it's just like 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 or 3rd and 2, they were not effective in getting those 2 yards and lining up and just running up the middle. Sunday, they really were. Sunday was a masterclass on how to get short yardage conversions. Credit to Ollie Gordon. Huge breakout game for Ollie Gordon. who was just tremendous. I think he was just picking his way forward. Finding it's not all these runs. Like you could look at the box score and be like, oh, they only averaged 3.7 yards a carry or whatever it was here. But it's the 3 yards when it's 3rd and 1, or it's the 4 yards when it's 3rd and 2. Those are huge runs. I mean, those are they're not explosive runs, but they're big drive sustaining runs. And Miami was able to really execute that. And I think a lot of that was due to the 6 offensive linemen, but not only the 6 offensive linemen, they brought in a lot of heavy packages too. There's like 2 tight end formations. They've had a lot of Alec Ingold in there, so a tight end and a fullback. A lot of heavy packages is like, hey, we're going to run the football, and you're going to know we're going to run the football because we're going to have Westbrook Akine in the game, who's a big body receiver. We're going to have Tanner Connor in there, a lot of Greg Dulcich, who was really good as a blocker on Sunday. So a lot of good run blockers and a really an effective game by the offensive line. I'm going to tip my cap here to the offensive line because they played their best game of the year for sure. Everyone really played their best game of the year. On both sides of the ball, it's very complimentary football on both sides from Miami, which was really impressive to see. For a 1-6 team who could have easily quit and tucked their tails in, they did not. So really, really impressive stuff. I'm going to, again, good credit to Ollie Gordon because he had his breakout game, but I think this is all Mike McDaniel. When I was watching it up there in the nosebleeds, wherever I was at, I was like, man, this is a really impressive game plan by Mike McDaniel and Frank Smith. Frank Smith, that was his first game, not in the booth. He was down there on the field level. So maybe that helps all the operation stuff with Tua and all the late clock stuff. There was no taking a timeout because the play clock was running down and the Dolphins were unorganized. There was none of that on Sunday. It was a couple false starts on Patrick Paul, but other than that, nothing crazy. 1 illegal formation on Larry Borum, but take away those 3 5-yard miscues by the Miami Dolphins offensive line. It was really a flawless game by them. And then obviously we allowed 1 sack on the first drive. I believe it was 3rd and 8, and free rusher, and Tua got sacked. But other than that, I mean, that's whatever. It was basically a flawless game from the offensive line up front, who played much, much better football than what we had accustomed to be seeing the last few weeks. And they really dictated the pace of the game. They really dictated the control line of scrimmage. They were moving Atlanta off the ball. And that's why you saw them run for that many yards. And that's why you see Tua's numbers what it was. It was a very efficient game from him because he didn't have to do anything. It was really, I don't want to be like the down player guy, but it was a game manager-esque game, even though he made really impressive throws. Like that's not a knock to say it was a game manager-esque game. It was just, that's what a run game does to your quarterback. It really helps out, and it made his life easier, which is not a knock to him at all. It was just an easy game for him because he was able to, because the run game was so effective, the Falcons linebackers have to creep up, and that's what Tua does best. He's a great second-level thrower, especially in the middle of the field. And you obviously saw him hit Jalen Waddle, which was almost a carbon copy of their college hookup in this very stadium in Atlanta in the SEC Championship back in 2018. And you saw him hit Jalen Waddle right in the middle of the field, and then obviously Waddle, that was the fastest I've seen him run all year. I mean, he looked like he was the college Jalen Waddle or the first, second-year receiver Jalen Waddle. Just turns the corner. It was decent angles, but Jalen Waddle's just that fast. So that's what a run game does. I believe that on that drive, the Dolphins ran like 6 or 7 straight times, and then they popped a play action, and then you saw Jalen Waddle get second-level throw, gone, 40-yard touchdown. So Tua was really efficient today. I'm going to give the credit to Mike McDaniel because I thought that was his best game plan of the year. I thought he was very, very creative on all accounts, in the pass game and in the run game. Is it enough to save his job? Is it enough to spark something? Probably not. I think this is just a similar thing as Stephen Ross wants to play the year out like he did with Brian Flores when we were 1-7 that year. Brian Flores and the Dolphins were able to turn it around that year and finish 9-8, but ultimately Brian Flores still did get fired. That was more of a player thing in the locker room. I believe the locker room wasn't as close then as it was now. The locker room does appear close right now, even though they're 2-6 and not going to go anywhere. I do think this is ultimately still the last year of Mike McDaniel. I don't think that one win erases the awful 3-game stretch we just watched. Right now, the pattern for the Dolphins is lose 3 in a row, win 1, and then lose 3 in a row and win 1. So that's not going to keep your job, unfortunately. So it's been a very disappointing year, but that was a very nice performance on Sunday. And I'm glad I was able to watch a quality football game on Sunday and not waste my money and be like, oh, this team looks terrible again. So they were able to, pull out a nice win, and they were honestly great on both sides of the ball. So getting to the defense side of the ball, Anthony Weaver, great game plan by him as well. I mean, he kind of owned the battle of Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator for the Falcons. We dictated the game on defense. We really did from the get-go too. They were getting after Kirk Cousins. They didn't have many sacks, but they were able to pressure him a lot and make him get the ball out quicker. I mean, obviously Kirk Cousins is an older guy. I believe he's like 37, 38 years old now. So he wants to get the ball out quick. He does not want to sit back there and take a bunch of shots. And they knew that. But they had this Jalen Phillips spy. I mean, they don't really need to spy Kirk Cousins, but it's one of those things where they're kind of using him as an athlete. And we were able to get into 3rd and long situations, which means you can pin your ears back as a defensive as a pass rush and get after the quarterback and make life tough. And what really surprised me was that we were able to kind of neutralize the run. This has been an awful run defense, and we're going up against Bijan Robinson, who's an unbelievable player. And yet Atlanta only ran it 9 times. So they only ran it with him 9 times, with Bijan Robinson. So obviously we will take that. They abandoned the run very, very quickly. But that's also what getting off to a good start will do to you. We were up by 14, I believe, at halftime. With the Tua throw touchdown late to Malik Washington. So we were up 14 at halftime. But also we were up 17 against Carolina, and they didn't abandon the run. So Atlanta abandoned the run pretty quickly, but also we were stopping the run whenever they were trying to get it going on first and second down, especially. So Chubb was really good. I think that was the best game I've seen from Zach Sealer all year. But really, the defensive player of the game for the Miami Dolphins was Jordyn Brooks. Jordyn Brooks, holy cow. That dude was tackling everything in sight on Sunday. I had a bird's eye look of it. I was like, is that Jordyn Brooks again shooting out of a cannon and no one touching him? He was unbelievable. That game on tape for Jordyn Brooks, stamp that thing if you're a Jordyn Brooks guy and be like, this is awesome football to watch. I mean, he was just incredible. Almost had a safety back there inside the 5-yard line, but Jordyn Brooks was tremendous. Zach Sealer had a few key TFLs and a few key moments in the game that kind of swung the momentum. But Miami's defense really just dictated the game. They were able to get them into 3rd and longs. And once we had a lead and we were to get them in 3rd and longs, our pass rush just took over the game. You saw Phillips get close and got a few pressures and force Cousins to make some errant throws, force him to sail some throws. Chubb, same thing. It was really impressive stuff by the defense. I mean, I'm going to give credit to their secondary as well. Rasul Douglas had that one kind of cheeky defensive pass interference, but he was good. And again, Atlanta was down Drake London, their top receiver, so I totally get it. It wasn't like we were facing like the best skill guys in the world, but Bijan Robinson is another guy, really, really tough guy in the pass game. And they were able to kind of neutralize him in the pass game as well. So really impressive stuff by Anthony Weaver's defense on Sunday. I mean, that was really, after last week getting crushed on 3rd down by Dylan Gabriel and the Browns. Maybe this team just plays better in a dome. I don't know, but it was a really, really impressive showing by their defense. And also, I got to give credit to Dante Trader, the rookie out of Maryland. He was awesome. Had a few awesome PBUs. He was all over the field. I was like, man, Dante Trader is really popping. The rookie out of Maryland. He was really, really impressive. His breakout game. So 2 rookies from Miami that I really want to give credit to: Ollie Gordon and Dante Trader, and Savai Naya, obviously, because he had some key blocks in that game. So those 3 rookies really had nice moments. I believe Kenneth Grant also. I'm going to shout out another rookie, 4th rookie, on the fumble that Bijan Robinson had in the red zone when Atlanta was going to make it 17-10 possibly. They were driving in the red zone, and I believe it was their second drive out of halftime. And they were probably going to make it 17-10. It was after the DPI to Rasul Douglas that got him down there. Kenneth Grant just blew up the play. I believe he drew a holding penalty, which would have backed him up anyways, but then Bijan Robinson fumbled the ball, and I believe Tyrell Dodson picked it up. But that was a play that was just completely made by Kenneth Grant, the rookie. So he had a nice play in this game. So 4 rookies really were able to kind of help affect the game and sway it in Miami's favor. So great job by all those Dolphins I just mentioned. Was this a blip in what was really been a disappointing season, or can they actually spark something down the stretch here? I mean, the schedule is not easy. I mentioned this on the only other podcast where we won the game against the Jets. I was like, hey, we're 1-3. If we want to have any shot at this thing, we got to be like 4-3 or 4-4 or 5-4 by the time this tough stretch heads up. And we're 2-6 instead. The season is completely over as far as like playoffs go. I mean, they have Baltimore, Buffalo, and Washington as their next 3 games. That is expected to be Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Jayden Daniels when he comes back. Baltimore or Washington are without the quarterbacks right now, but Lamar is expected to play on Thursday. He's a full go on practice right now. So that's not going to be a win, unfortunately. And then Buffalo, we know we don't beat them. And then Washington, 3 weeks from now, Jayden Daniels will be back by then, assuming. So those are going to be 3 tough games. So, I mean, this is just a nice win. But ultimately, it doesn't change the fact that this season is a total lost cause. And that was unfortunately just because that I don't know if this team is ever going to be playoff good, but they unfortunately, they wasted too many weeks kind of messing around and not knowing who they are. Like all offseason, I've heard they want to establish the run game and they want to be physical. And they don't really label as a soft team anymore. And yesterday or Sunday, they were not a soft team at all. They actually had a game plan that involved heavy packages, single back, bringing in a 6 offensive lineman. Unfortunately, it was just 8 weeks too late. Could they actually replicate that style of play against every defense? And had they done it 8 weeks ago, would we be seeing a different result? Maybe, I don't know, but it's just, unfortunately, it's just too little too late. It's too little too late for the season, and it's probably too little too late for Mike McDaniel's job as far as heading into next year. I do believe he probably finishes the year out because, as I had Dan Day on my last podcast, he did mention Stephen Ross does not like midseason firings. He didn't fire Adam Gase midseason. He didn't fire Brian Flores midseason. He let that thing run out. Brian Flores finished the year 9-8. He still fired him. Adam Gase, I believe, finished the year 7-9, and they still fired him. So they usually let these things play out. So, I mean, if the Dolphins win some games on the stretch here and get to 6-7 wins, I wouldn't be shocked, but it still means that McDaniel's going to get fired at the end of the year. I do not see any path where he stays another year, even though he is completely just linked to Tua, and we can't really get rid of Tua until after next season. But I don't see them running back anything just because of one win in Atlanta. That's not going to really do anything for me. And even if they are able to rattle off some wins on the stretch here, they've done that before. That does not give you any reason to run it back, because it's like, oh, they showed signs of life toward the end of the year. We showed signs towards last year. We were 2-6 last year, and we finished the year 6-2, get to 8-8, and then they lost the last game. But they finished the year 6-3 last year to kind of, spark some things. And then, obviously Ross was like, well, let's just run it back. We had Tua injured for 5 games. Maybe we'll be better. We finished the year really, really well. So we'll run it back. This is not any. If they finish the year 7-10 or 8-9, I'm not gonna. It's just gonna be more Dolphins, more of the same Dolphins. Like, okay, we're gonna pick in the teens again and ruin our draft pick, and people are gonna think that we're actually close when we're really not that close. So ultimately, it was a nice win. But I mean, this is what the Dolphins do. Occasionally, they do look good, and I actually had a weird good feeling about this game because, again, it's a dome. Tua's never lost in this stadium before. He's 4-0 now. He was 3-0 in college in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. He's a good dome quarterback, as we've highlighted multiple times, which is kind of why you see the inclement weather Tua. You saw it in Tennessee in 2021 where we lost 38-3, and it was any kind of rain or gusts of wind. Tua not as efficient. Tua in a dome, obviously SEC weather, really really good quarterback. So that's kind of just the book is out on that. But yeah, ultimately they have 2 home games in a row here, Baltimore and Buffalo. I mean, it'd be nice to win one of them, but I'm not really seeing it. Obviously, a primetime game against Baltimore would be nice to win. Any win against Buffalo would be nice, but just they've shown no ability defensively to stop Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or really any mobile quarterback. I think we really got to let off the hook when it was Kirk Cousins starting. Penix is not mobile either, but those immobile quarterbacks is a benefit to our pass rush. We can really just hone in on getting to the quarterback. You don't have to worry about containment. Obviously, you saw the Herbert thing where we weren't able to kind of bring him down. It's a mobile quarterback. So those guys are going to give us problems. Obviously, Drake May as well, week 2. Josh Allen in week 3. So those guys will give us problems. But, Kirk Cousins was nothing. I mean, he's kind of on the back end of his career now. But now you got to face Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Jayden Daniels, 3 elite mobile quarterbacks. So it'll be tough. But ultimately, I'm going to give Anthony Weaver credit for this game. Tip my cap to him. His defense played really, really well. And I'd love to see them replicate it on Thursday because I want to stack some wins. But ultimately, it doesn't really do anything. I mean, this is all it is hurting your draft stock. But I still love watching good football. Like I'm not going to go to the game. I didn't go to the game on Sunday and root against good football. I wanted us to play really well, and they did. They played way better than I thought they would. So I'm going to give credit to them on this one. But we will be back after Thursday night's game. I'm probably going to go live on. I'm probably going to go do a podcast immediately after that game. I'm not going to wait till Friday to do it. A rare primetime game for the Dolphins. A rare standalone game for the Dolphins. We haven't had one since that Jets game in week 4. So yeah, I'll do one immediately following that game. Maybe we see a 2-game win streak for the Dolphins. If not, we might have another losing streak in store, another 3-game losing streak in store, but we'll see. Ultimately, a really, really impressive, a nice win for the Dolphins to get to 2-6 and end the losing streak, and avoid another 1-7 start, which would have been the first 1-7 start since that 2021 season. So yeah, we'll see if we can turn things around and kind of keep this thing going on Thursday against Baltimore. But appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next time.